Welcome to Never a Dull Moment. I'm Greg Blythe, and today we're going to be talking about cutting boards. And particularly, we're going to be talking about wooden cutting boards. These are cutting boards you can find in most of the homes, probably your home as well. So even though there are many different cutting boards out there in the world, we're going to be covering all of those different types of cutting boards, different materials, different sizes, different shapes. We're going to be doing that in a much larger video. Today, specifically, I want to talk about just the two different types of wooden cutting boards you'll probably find in your home, or maybe you had your eye on one and there's some things you need to know. So the two main types of cutting boards are going to be your edge grain. Some people would even use the term long grain, but edge grain cutting board. Here, this particular board that I have in front of you was a gift from my wife 2 Christmases ago. This is the TeakHaus Pro Teak cutting board. It is made of teak, but it is a natural material. It is reversible. It does not have any legs on it. And if you really pay attention, you can see that the grain is running long ways. And so one of the things I want to point out with that type of cutting board is the way it's constructed is you would take actual boards lengthwise, you would then adhere them with a type of watertight wood adhesive, and then you would layer them back to back, put them in a vise, and then once you keep them together for 10 hours, 20 hours, whatever it calls for, you then have your basic shape. You can then plane it, sand it, cut it. This has rounded edges. It has some nice handles on the side. This particular board has no feet, but some of the boards do come with feet. That is an option. But generally, the surface itself is going to be open. The manufacturer may or may not ship it with a type of oil or wax to protect it. You do want to keep the wood from drying out, and you do want to learn how to seal it somehow. We're going to go over the sealing technique on a different video. But today I want to make a comparison between edge grain and end grain cutting boards. So I don't know if you can see it in the shot, but I'm definitely going to go ahead and put it on top. You can see this is an end grain cutting board. Now, this end grain board is actually made by a friend of mine. His name is Jack. I have playfully dubbed his name of his company, You Don't Know Jack, and he thought that was kind of funny. And honestly, he's a guy that has a much bigger position in his life, and he started making these for some type of stress relief. He's making beautiful work. This is the first end grain board he's ever made, actually. I will put some videos above, some pictures above, excuse me, of some other boards he's made that are just absolutely gorgeous, a variety of wood. So this particular one is walnut and maple. And the way that end grain boards are made is instead of having the length of the board be long this way, what you can do is you can still like take boards lengthwise and glue them and then cut them. And then when you flip it over, you have the end, the soft, if you've ever held a 2x4 in your hand, you can literally have like the fluffy, you can feel the grain kind of coming out. It's actually, it feels quite nice, but it's a much softer end of the board. And when you turn it upright, you have the end of the grain pointing up. And then you can turn, if you cut across all of those, which is what he does actually. He said he literally glues all the long, and then after they dry, he cuts them and he turns them over. So now he has all the end grains and he glues them together. And obviously he does it in a really nice pattern. And so there's several extra steps that they need to do for this particular thing. Once they sand the board with the end grain up with something rough like a 120 grit, they will turn around and then they will spray it with water and wipe it with water and get the grain to like fluff up. So that way they can sand it again and really tighten up the end. So we get this smooth surface. So even though the end of this board is end grain, it actually feels somewhat smooth as if it was the edge grain. Now, the difference is for those of you who are knife nerds, the knife nerds really cling to this type of a board because it's known to be like very friendly when it comes to edge retention, keeping the edge of your knife very sharp. Now, a lot of you may not have ever considered when you were purchasing your cutting board, like that's a thing, keeping the edge of your knife sharp. I mean, if you can make the impact of a knife, and I went ahead and pulled out a beautiful knife. This is a 200, I know you guys are going to ask, so I'm just going to tell you. It's a 270 millimeter Hitahira Tanaka Blue No. 2 Kasumi finish Gyuto. And Everyone wants it. It's a cherry handle. I mean, let's just go ahead and make sure everybody gets all the details. It is a carbon steel knife. If you're new to knives, carbon steel knives do get a patina, so you can see it has like some discoloration on the knife from being used. Yes, I don't just collect knives, I do use the knife. So even though this knife has amazing steel, it's good edge retention, it gets really sharp, I'm going to be banging this. I'm going to be sliding this on a piece of wood, and in doing that, I'm going to cause some type of damage to the apex of this knife. Yes, you're cutting through food, but if you get through the food, you're going to be on the wood. So, excuse me, allergy season. So, when we have the two choice of boards, okay, and I'll put this way. This is obviously teak. It's a little harder. There are other woods that are used, and that can be softer. Now, this particular board was voted by America's Test Kitchen more than 5 times in a row. Like I said, I'll put a link as the #1 cutting board that they recommend. One of the reasons that they do not recommend end grain, and this is why I want to bring this up. All these boards are made with adhesive, and wood under extreme like temperature changes like hot water expand and contract. Now, when you're using these cutting boards, most people are unaware that no matter which cutting board you purchase, and all the ones you're going to see in my upcoming videos, and when I make those, I will tag them along in this video. So if you see this video and they're not there yet, we'll get back to it. But all of these cutting boards that you can compare things to, the end grain cutting board has a lot of parts, and you're always to wash all of these cutting boards to kill bacteria with soap and water. Yes, there are other solutions. You can do a vinegar water blend, 1/4 cup vinegar, 3/4 cup water mix, and then you can spray down your board to kill bacteria. Some people, I know a culinary school locally, like once a week, they actually do a bleach concentration and soak their board. But research has shown that you can just kill bacteria with simple soap and water. I know if you're like me, I've always believed that hot water just kind of killed things. And so we always get it like scalding hot. And I never really realized that in doing so, I'm asking the wood to expand and contract. So one of the main differences, one of the reasons America's Test Kitchen does not recommend an end grain board, is that as the wood expands and contracts, it's going to loosen up the adhesive, and you're going to get space between the individual parts of this board. If you get spaces, then you're going to have a home for bacteria. Now, that's not that it can't happen on this board, but there's less moving parts. So the first thing we need to learn if you're going to operate with these boards is there is some care and some maintenance in using them. One, they do need to be washed with soap and water after each use. Two, when you do put them in water, you need to get both sides equally wet. Otherwise, you could actually warp the board. Three, like when you actually go to store the board after you have washed it and then got it wet on both sides, you need to dry it off the best you can with a towel, and you need to store it upright. If you can actually put it, straight up, so that way it doesn't have an opportunity to warp. If it's leaning against something, it could actually sag. So wood boards are very beautiful. This is great to serve charcuterie on it, things like that. I know some of you guys might be a little lenient when it comes to cooking chicken or cutting up chicken on here. You're thinking bacteria. You probably want to go to your rubber cutting boards and synthetic ones. These are fine to use it. You don't have to have a specific board either for like using it with chicken. You just need to make sure you use soap and water over time. Now, I already can hear, because I've already heard it in all the knife forums, I can hear the knife nerds. I've never had a problem. And it's probably because they properly take care of their cutting board. So you too can join them in knife nerd status. If you get yourself a beautiful end grain board, wash it with warm soap and water. The soap will kill. You don't need the added feature of extra hot water. So do that for each of these boards. That's where they're the same. The weight is comparatively the same per square foot. Obviously this board's bigger, it's heavier. They come in a variety of sizes. You might have seen the brand Booze Block, really popular, can be very pricey. They come much thicker. They have an entire counter. It's standalone blocks. So the end grain board is visibly amazing. It is softer to the knife edge. It is something that you can use as a showpiece in your kitchen. Just make sure that if you're going to get the ingrain board, that you actually do take care of it. The one that Jack made has some routered pieces. He's got some handles in there as well, like the Pro TeakHaus board. And we did not have feet on it. It is reversible. He does make some with feet. So if you do manage to get up with him, he can custom make that for however you want. So I will just let you know that I have not used this cutting board yet. I have used them before in the past. I'm excited. We're going to be doing another video shortly where we talk about sealing the boards. Just to let you, because you're on this video, know there are different sealants out there. There are things that you're going to have to do. The one that that we're starting to recommend, we are like we like safe products. Okay, so we tend to stay away from petroleum-based things, any type of thing. We just don't want it in our body. So, so we have a company, 3 Key Outfitters. They make it's a utility wax. I had a chance to meet them at Blade Show. Let me put my disclaimer out there. I have not been paid to promote them, so we had to do the research. So again, I'm going to talk about this product more in the next video that we do, where we talk about sealing boards. But if you do get these boards, you will have to seal it, and you have to seal it on a regular basis. The woods are thirsty, and so whether you're using a food grade mineral oil, people do use that. It's not the one that I recommend. You are the owner of your product. You can do whatever you want. I will never tell you what to do. I know people can't stand that, so I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to let you know that there are food safe, they've been labeled food safe mineral oils that you can use. The products that we're going to be recommending are 100% natural. I'll put links in the description. I do not get paid a commission for this product. I do not. It's just me telling you there's something amazing out there. When you go to seal it, you're going to have to do it on a regular basis. You will actually apply something, let it sit, and then it'll absorb. You'll use the cutting board. Through washing it with soap and water, you're going to remove some of the sealant. The wood is thirsty. It's going to drink it up. So it's something you're going to have to do regular basis. So to end, I just want you to know that if you decide to go with wood, they don't go in your dishwasher. They do need maintenance. You must be aware of the temperature of the water so that they'll last a long time. You will have to seal them, but it's worth it. They're beautiful. And I look forward in another video coming up to showing you other options other than this. If you want to make your life a little easier, not quite as beautiful, we'll be happy to show this to you. Hopefully this was informative and it was not a dull moment. I appreciate you checking in and look forward to using this cutting board in some upcoming videos. Thank you as always for watching. God bless.